Hi, I'm Katie. This is my wrap capstone overview in 3 minutes or less. I created a prompt optimizer tool for Claude, and what it does is it looks at a prompt that I give it, it compares it against my own personal AI use policy to make sure I'm not in contravention of anything in there, and then it comes up with a new prompt that breaks down what needs to be done in steps and assigns a different sub-agent per step to make sure that I'm using the most cost-effective model. This is for me and me alone. I'm a solo consultant, and I picked it because I wanted to move my AI governance upstream. So instead of looking at an output and deciding whether or not it meets my ethics criteria, move some of that work upstream. I tested this on a real task. I had gone to a conference in May and had created this huge output summary from that conference. I was pretty happy with the output. It was a good overview of what happened, and it used all these different transcripts as well as my notes, as well as the schedule information on the conference website to pull it all together. Ran it again with this. It came up with a really similar summary. I don't think the average user, if they read both, would notice a difference. But the optimized version did miss two key outputs, and that was because the prompt was asking it to make the output smaller in order to save compute. I also think that this new one was a more honest review. It called out when it wasn't sure who the speaker was or when a quote was unverified. And most importantly, it was 73% cheaper in terms of compute cost, which kind of surprised me. My big red flag for this is it can offer a sense of false assurance. I think a governance tool's most dangerous output is definitely confidence. And this bit me during my testing in that it told me it was 73% more efficient, and I believed it. But then when I dug in and tried to figure out, well, which step was done by exactly which subagent, it was really hard to tell. There was no documentation for it. So I had to go back and update the entire thing to now at the end of each output to basically say, like, these are the models I used and this is the tokens that were used for each thing, and then do a comparison to what would have been used if it was Opus, which is sort of normally my default. Okay, in terms of design choices, it flags things, it never blocks it. I always have ultimate judgment. In terms of forbidden vocabulary, I won't let it say it's safe or it passes. It just says no rule has been tripped, so it doesn't give me that false assurance. The model right sizing, I'm not actually tracking how much carbon it's using. It's just a proxy using the number of tokens and which model is used. And like I said, after I learned that lesson with not knowing which subagents were used, I went back and I updated it to make sure that it's actually providing receipts each time that it creates something. Going forward, I think what worked, moving it upstream, it definitely caught a few things that in the previous version I had to go through several times and clean up because there were mistakes. But what I'd change next is I think I would create some seeded prompts that are designed to fail and test it so that I can see whether or not it's actually catching the things that I want it to test. And I'll just leave by saying that a governance tool that you don't question is basically a rubber stamp with good branding. So I've learned a lot about governance in this project. Thanks.